Welcome to the Cardiac EMA Learner Series, a unique video tutorial program under the aegis of Indian Association of Cardiac Imaging. This program is focused on beginners and intermediate images with learning happening through short sessions and case-based discussions. We are grateful to experts from different parts of India who have helped us in putting this program together. Please do feel free to give us your feedback so we can continually improve such training opportunities. This session is brought to you by Dr. Onkar Oti from Ruby Hall Clinic, Pune. He is a consultant radiologist with special interest in cardiac imaging. He finished his fellowship training for Level 3 certification by the European Association of Cardiovascular Imaging and has published more than 7 articles in peer-reviewed journal and has written a few textbook chapters related to cardiac imaging. He is also an executive committee member of the Indian Association of Cardiac Imaging and has delivered multiple talks in national and international conferences.
Hello everyone, this is Dr. Onkar Auti. I'm going to discuss the two cardiomyopathies in this lecture. One is the dilated cardiomyopathy and second is the ARVD or arrhythmogenic right ventricular dysplasia. Coming to the dilated cardiomyopathy. So dilated cardiomyopathy by definition it refers to the left ventricular dilatation associated with the systolic dysfunction. Basically, it is classified into the primary dilated cardiomyopathy and the secondary LV dilatation or secondary DCM. So, when we refer to as a DCM or dilated cardiomyopathy, it predominantly means that it is a primary dilated cardiomyopathy, and all the secondary DCM are considered as a secondary to the other pathologies. So, the primary DCM is genetically associated disease with autosomal dominant inheritance. Primary DCM is the diagnosis of exclusion when you exclude rest of the causes of the dilated heart, then you conclude that it is a idiopathic or primary DCM. The secondary LV dilatation can be because of two main things. One is the ischemic dilated cardiomyopathy and second is the non-ischemic causes. So in non-ischemic causes, the post-myocarditis or the post-infiltrative cardiomyopathy like amyloidosis or sarcoidosis can give rise to the LV dilatation and systolic dysfunction. The rest of the causes are drug-induced dilated cardiomyopathy, peripartum cardiomyopathy, alcohol abuse cardiomyopathy, and secondary to the valvular heart diseases. In valvular heart diseases, mainly the regurgitation patterns, the mitral regurgitation will give rise to the dilated LV. So, what we assess on cardiac MR in DCM, we assess in the cine images, we assess for the wall motion abnormality, and we assess for the functional assessment of LV as well as RV. So in wall motion abnormalities, whether it's a regional wall motion abnormality or it's a global hypokinesia, that differentiates between the ischemic and non-ischemic DCM. Whereas the functional assessment of LV and RV are the prime importance in the cases of DCM, as it is as these functional assessment also provide the risk stratification in the prognosis of DCM. We are going to assess the LG enhancement pattern in different kinds of DCM. We can assess the intracavity thrombi, which are quite difficult to visualize in the dilated heart on echo, and we also assess the etiology and prognosis of DCM. T1 mapping is a new technique in cardiac MRI where we actually determine the native T1 values of the myocardium, and also with the help of hematocrit we determine the ECE values of the myocardium. So increase in native T1 values and the ECE values suggest that there is a subclinical fibrosis. It is an additional diagnostic tool even when the LG is absent. So LG will give you the replacement fibrosis only, but when LG is absent and increased T1 values and ECE values will suggest that there is subclinical fibrosis. It is also used to differentiate between the pathological and physiological dilatation of LV. The details of the T1 mapping has been covered in the other lecture in the CMR Learner series. Let's see one case first. 31-year-old male presented with a breathlessness since 2 to 4 weeks. There is no evidence of fever. The LV systolic dysfunction with dilatation is presented on echo and referred for the cardiac MR for further investigation. As we can see, this is a 4-chamber view, this is a 2-chamber view, and the short axis views at the basal, mid, and the apical cavity. If you see the contraction of the LV, so it is decreased. You can see the anterior as well as the inferior septal and lateral wall all have the decreased contractility. So this is called as the global hypokinesia. If you see the LV, it is dilated. So there is a dilatation of LV and there is a global hypokinesia. So definitely we are dealing with the dilated cardiomyopathy picture. Delayed enhancement images, you can see the jet black myocardium. And this it's almost a normal study except for the subtle mid-septal fibrosis. You can see this subtle mid-septal increase intensity signal in the septum. So that represents the fibrosis. So this is a non-ischemic dilated cardiomyopathy. Coming back to the LG patterns, what we differentiate, if we get the subendocardial or the transmural infarction, then it becomes a ischemic dilated cardiomyopathy. So you can see here, this is a subendocardial infarction. So this is because this is involving the inferior wall. So most likely the RCA territory in right dominant circulation. If we get the mid myocardial or the epicardial enhancement, you can see here, this is the epicardial enhancement, then it becomes a non-ischemic cardiomyopathy. You can see this is the diffuse subendocardial enhancement. Again, this is a non-ischemic cardiomyopathy. So this is very classical for the amyloidosis. So these are two examples of the infiltrative cardiomyopathies. In post myocarditis also we get the multiple patchy cardial or mid myocardial enhancements. The third pattern where we get the no enhancement or subtle mid septal enhancement. This subtle mid septal enhancement we have seen the previous case. The incidence of this enhancement is around 28% of the DCM cases will show this mid septal enhancement. So if there is a no enhancement, the causes can be, it can be a idiopathic dilated cardiomyopathy, it can be drug induced, it can be related to the peripartum, it can be related to the valvular heart disease or the alcohol abuse. Okay, we are going to see the next case. 50-year-old female presented with breathlessness, no fever or palpitation, normal coronaries on the cath angiography. On echocardiography, there is a dilated LV and associated with systolic dysfunction. You can see the LV is dilated. You can see that there is a global hypokinesia of the LV. All walls of the LV are contracting less. You can also see the RV is also dilated and it is hypokinetic. There is mild TR and MR as well. These are the star images. These images are basically we look for the active myocardial edema. So you can see there are increased signal intensities in the septum at inferior RV insertion point. Here are some increased signal intensities in the septum and also in the anterolateral wall. On the delayed enhancement images, you can see there is an enhancement in the epicardial region. Here also on the anterolateral wall, epicardial region of the inferior wall, epicardial region of the inferior wall, also some mid myocardial extension. So this becomes a non-ischemic pattern, and also there are increased signal intensities on star. So this is myocarditis but secondary to the granulomatous disease. So either TB or sarcoid. So this patient was followed further. The Mantoux test was negative. ACE levels in the serum were elevated, and the patient was diagnosed as a sarcoidosis, and she started on the corticosteroids. So after 4 months, we have repeated the scanning, see a cardiac MR in this patient. So previously there was a LVEF of 16% and RVF of 19%. So RVF was also failing. So on the follow-ups con, LVEF increased to the 37% and RVEF increased to the 45%. So there is a definite improvement in the ejection fraction. So you can see the fibrosis almost similar to the previous scan, as fibrosis represents the permanent damage to the myocardium. So this will not change, but definitely there is improvement in the ejection fraction due to the corticosteroid therapy. So it is a case of cardiac sarcoidosis which is improved on treatment. So basically we have seen two different cases. One case with the idiopathic dilated cardiomyopathy with subtle mid-septal enhancement, and second with the non-ischemic dilated cardiomyopathy but with the infiltrative or proven sarcoidosis. So the sarcoidosis is a treatable condition where the ejection fraction can be improved, but whereas in idiopathic dilated cardiomyopathy, the prognosis is poor. Okay, so again on the MRI imaging, what we can deliver is we can definitely differentiate between the ischemic dilated cardiomyopathy and the non-ischemic causes. So in the non-ischemic causes, definitely we are going to differentiate between the amyloid, sarcoid like infiltrative cardiomyopathy and also the post-myocarditis cardiomyopathy. So I want to concentrate on the no enhancement pattern. If there is a no enhancement with the LV dilatation and the systolic dysfunction, there is a long list in front of us, like idiopathic dilated cardiomyopathy, alcohol abuse, drug induced, secondary to the valvular heart diseases. So rest of the all these causes can be ruled out on the clinical history. So whenever you get the dilated cardiomyopathy picture with the LV dilatation and the decreased ejection fraction, you should not label it directly as a idiopathic cardiomyopathy, but you can label it as a non-ischemic dilated cardiomyopathy with no obvious cause found. And if the rest of the causes are not there in that particular patient, then it can be labeled as idiopathic dilated cardiomyopathy. So what are the prognostic criteria for the dilated cardiomyopathy? If you are following the patient of a DCM and there is a progressive decrease in ejection fraction of LV, then it is a poor prognostic factor. If there is associated RV dilatation and the systolic dysfunction as well of the RV, then again the prognosis in those patients will be poor. Presence of a mid-septal fibrosis, what we have seen in the first case, which is a best predictor and the independent factor for the sudden cardiac death and also the ventricular tachycardia. So the presence of fibrosis again um, again gives you the poor prognosis criteria in the DCM. Okay, moving on to the second half of the topic. Arrhythmogenic right ventricular dysplasia or cardiomyopathy, ARVD, and the ARVC terms can be used interchangeably. It is also a genetically determined disease with autosomal dominant inheritance. So there is a progressive loss and fibrofatty infiltration of the myocardium of RV predominantly. It affects the young adult group and it is a cause of sudden cardiac death. So because it is a cause of sudden cardiac death, the diagnosis of ARVD or ARVC is very crucial. So what are the features on MRI? On MRI, there will be dilatation of RV and the ventricular wall thinning. There will be right ventricular aneurysms. We can assess the global or segmental dyskinesia in patients of ARVD. And there is fibrofatty deposition which can be assessed on the cardiac MRI. But assessing the fibrofatty deposition is not currently recommended as a diagnostic criteria. We'll come to the diagnostic criteria later in this talk. Let's see one case. 35-year-old male presented with a giddiness and palpitation. On ECG, there are multiple ventricular premature contractions. On echo, they have concluded it's a RV cardiomyopathy. They have seen RV dilatation and dysfunction, and the cardiac MR was suggested for further investigation. You can see this is the free wall of the RV. The entire RV is dilated. There is a mild to moderate TR, and when you are seeing when the RV free wall is contracting, there is small aneurysmal outpouching. So on the short axis, you can see the small aneurysmal outpouching, which becomes prominent in systole. And this part of the RV is actually relaxing in the systole. So there is a RV dyskinesia segmental and also the aneurysmal outpouching. So again, these are the cine images. You can see the small aneurysmal outpouching over here in the short axis images. So on the delayed enhancement images, you can see this is the LV myocardium, looks fine, jet black in color. And this is the RV myocardium, which is showing the diffuse transmural enhancement. So there is a diffuse enhancement or fibrosis in the RV free wall. So this is a case of ARVD or ARVC. I want to look at the functional assessment of RV in this case. So in this case, the RVF was 29% and the end diastolic volume of 334 ml. So this is the indexed end diastolic volume, which is 188 ml per meter square. So which has been indexed with the body surface area of this patient. I want you to remember this value for next 5 minutes. So, as you know, the diagnosis of the ARVD is very critical. So, there has been an formation of task force criteria for the diagnosis of ARVD with the different modalities, which was found in 1994. And then the task force criteria was revised in 2010. So, MRI criteria in task force, they have basically concentrated on the qualitative and the as well as the quantitative assessment. So, in the qualitative assessment, they have taken into consideration the RV regional wall motion abnormality, including the dyskinesia, akinesia, or dyssynchrony. And in the quantitative image, they have looked into the RV ejection fraction and as well as the RV end diastolic volume. So, this is the 2010 revised task force criteria with the different modalities, where the modalities can be echocardiography, MRI, endomyocardial biopsy. They have also included the EP studies, depolarization abnormalities, and as well as the history. So, to consider the diagnosis or to for the definitive diagnosis of the ARVD, um, there should be presence of two major or one major plus two minor criteria according to the revised task force criteria 2010. So, here MR can give only one major criteria or one minor criteria in the entire study. So, what are these criteria? The major criteria include regional wall motion abnormality. So, regional wall motion abnormality of the RV has to be there. It should be present in the form of dyskinesia or akinesia or dyssynchrony. And any one of the following where there is increased in the index RV-EDV. Please remember this RV-EDV or the end diastolic volume is indexed to the body surface area and not the absolute values. It should be more than 110 ml per meter square for male and 100 ml per meter square for female, and RV ejection fraction less than 40%. So, any of these two criteria and associated regional wall motion abnormality gives one major criterion according to cardiac MRI, and minor criterion regional wall motion abnormality with the RV EDV between 100 to 110 ml per meter square for male and 90 to 100 ml per meter square for female, and ejection fraction between 40 to 45%. So, MRI can give only one major criteria or one minor criterion for the ARVD diagnosis according to the revised task force. So, if you remember in our first case, the RV EDV, the indexed RV EDV was 188 and the ejection fraction was 29%. And also definitely we had the aneurysmal outpouching and the dyskinesia in that patient. So definitely we are giving the one major criterion according to the revised task force in that patient. Let's see another case. It is a 55-year-old female presented with recurrent palpitations. On echo, there is a dilated RV and cardiac MR was suggested. So you can see the RV is mildly dilated. So if you concentrate on the RV free wall, particularly this shows the segmental dyskinesis. Okay. So there is a segmental dyskinesis, no obvious aneurysmal outpouching. If you are seeing some outpouching at this level, you can see this is the moderator band and this is the septum. So some outpouching at the attachment of moderator band is normal. So in this case, we are seeing a dyskinesia segmental in the RV free wall. On the post contrast image, you can see this diffuse enhancement of the RV free wall. And also in short axis image, you can see there is an epicardial and also the mid myocardial enhancement of the LV anterior wall extending into the septum as well as the lateral wall. So there is enhancement of the RV and as well as LV in the epicardial fashion. So it is a case of ARVD associated with LV involvement. It can be also referred as the ALVD, arrhythmogenic left ventricular dyskinesis. And remember, the enhancement of the RV is not the essential criteria in the revised task force 2010. Cardiac MR are the gold standard for the LV and the RV functional assessment. The LV and RV functional assessment are the key imaging factors or the key diagnostic factors in the DCM as well as in the ARVD. Cardiac MRI is the prime investigation determining causes or etiology in the DCM. Also, cardiac MR is also helpful in the risk stratification and prognostication in cases of DCM. In ARVD, there is a revised task force criteria, and cardiac MR can give one major criterion or one minor criterion. LV also can be involved in ARVD, which is also called as the ALVD. Thank you so much for your patient listening.